Happy Wednesday and welcome back to Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. I am your host, Massachusetts team insider Jake Ignazuski, and today we are going to have part 2 of the Jonathan Van Every interview. If you didn't listen to yesterday's episode, make sure you go and check it out. But Jonathan Van Every is the former Red Sox player that we had the opportunity to interview. Unfortunately, Lauren wasn't able to join me for this interview, but it's still a great interview where we hear Jonathan talk about some great stories of his time with the Red Sox, as well as playing with guys like Manny Ramirez, Coco Crisp, and Kevin Youkilis, and David Ortiz as well. So let's get right into it.
Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Exactly, I bet. What was your experience with the Boston media? Because they can always find a way to spin a story and get you to say things. I mean, that's why we see Bill Belichick obviously just doing his quick one answers and really
he's
nothing
best,
to work
right?
with.
He's the best. Just leave me alone. I have nothing to say. Yeah, that was great. No, that wasn't. So, no, I mean, to be honest, I don't think I really did much for the Boston media to want to talk to me. I think I had one home run at the end of the game in extra innings at Cleveland, which was a bit vindicating for me, where I ended up winning the game. So I think it was a tie game in the 10th, and I hit a home run off of one of my old teammates, Jensen Lewis, to win the game at Cleveland. Papelbon came in and got the save, but the media actually wanted to talk to me after that game. Every other game, I don't think they really cared who I was or even knew who I was for that matter. They were more interested in the other 24 guys on the roster. But so I always managed to sidestep the Boston media for the most part.
That's pretty cool. It must have been pretty incredible being able to, hit your first home run, game-winning home run against the team who drafted you and the team that really never gave you a shot in the big leagues.
Yes, it was. And, even Tito said, now I understand how he feels about his whole situation. So it was, it was great, man. It was a lot of years of frustration, a lot of years of being buried in a minor league organization. Yeah, I didn't go play 5 or 6 years in the big leagues or, make an all-star team or sign a big contract. But for that little one moment in time, that kind of summed up my career. For me, that was really vindicating to say, hey, I made it. I did something that made a difference.
Oh, I bet. And it must have been pretty interesting how you sort of ended your career with the Indians, being outright in and having the opportunity to sort of be in free agency for the first time. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So I guess, the first day I became a free agent. So I was coming off of my season actually ended short because of knee injury. You see a recurring theme here: knee injury, knee injury, knee injury. But so my season ended short with a knee injury, had surgery. And then, so first day of free agency, I'm like, well, am I going to get a call? I don't know. I'm hurt. Is anybody going to give me a chance? And literally the phone rang off the hook all day long, which was a blessing. Thank God people have interest in me. So I think I had 15 teams on the first day, all are really interested in signing me. But the first call, I'll never forget it. I think I got a call at 6 a.m. and it was a weird number like 67-8. And I'm like, who in the world would be calling me this early and from this bogus number? This is before we had like spam calling now. And it was Billy Beane from Oakland. And talked to him for a good, 15, 20 minutes and said they were going to make a run at me in free agency. And ultimately it came down between them and Boston, and Boston just threw more cash at me. And that was and put me on the roster. So that was kind of the determining factor. But yeah, that was, wow, Billy Beane's interested. Now everybody else is hopping on the bandwagon. They're all interested too. So that first day of free agency was kind of chaotic in a good way. It was, wow, all these people really want me after 7 years of having somebody tell me I'm not good enough to play on the big league roster. Now I have 15 other teams saying, we want you now, and we're willing to pay for it. That was a bit vindicating as well. So that felt really good to be actually wanted by other teams.
I bet it must have been sort of, I bet also a little bit overwhelming during that first day, just all those calls coming in and sort of, having to figure out like, what is my future going to look like?
Yeah. That's what you have an agent for. And luckily they did a good job. Granted, they didn't really have to do anything my whole career because there was really no contracts to negotiate except that minor league deal on the first go around. But they were great. And yeah, it's and Bob Lasani, he did a great job. I remember him calling me in a hotel room in Batavia, New York, of all places, my first year playing, and asking if I had representation. I was like, no. Why would I even need an agent yet? So, but anyway, signed with him, and we developed a good relationship over the years, and stuck with me through the end. And so he helped me get to Boston.
I love it. And I read also that your dad was a Yankees fan. I bet he was obviously happy that, you got a job with a high profile team like the Red Sox, but sort of what was his reaction when you told him, hey, Dad, I just signed with the Yankees arch rival?
Well, I got to go with my dad to old Yankee Stadium one time. It was actually that in 2001, after the one of the Brooklyn games, we hiked a subway and went all the way up to the Bronx to watch him play the Mets one game. So the next time, he only went to New Yankee Stadium one time, and that was to see his son play in a Red Sox uniform. That's cool. So I think he was at that moment in time, he put his Yankee pride aside and cheered for the Red Sox.
That's funny. Yeah, there definitely must have been a pretty cool moment for him as well, to see his son on the field that his favorite team plays on. I bet he never really imagined that.
No, I don't think any of us could imagine a million years coming from little podunk town in Mississippi. But there we were on the grand stage with the bright lights and loud music and everything New York's all about and everything the big leagues is all about. So it was definitely one of the moments that I'll never forget.
Oh, I bet. And especially the moment that you first had the opportunity to play at Fenway Park as well. In my opinion, it's the best atmosphere. Right when you walk up to the plate and the just crowd erupts, or they erupt when you just get a hit. So what was your first experience playing at Fenway like?
It was incredible. It was like a dream come true. And I don't know if you realize this or anybody else for that matter, but that was my first time to ever get called up. So what the Red Sox did was they flew my parents up, they flew my brother up, put him up in a hotel, gave him tickets to the game for the whole series.
That's incredible.
So that was for those that want to bash the Red Sox, they really are a class organization, and they take care of their guys. And that was just, they didn't have to do that. I don't know if any other organizations that do that. But so that was special. That meant a lot to me, and that was their first time to ever come to Boston or Fenway for that matter. Wow. So we all just kind of like wined and dined it. We're on cloud nine, like, what in the world is this? This is cool. We could get used to this. So, we were all a kid in a candy store at that moment in time. And then I hear, Neil Diamond playing in the middle of the eighth, in Sweet Caroline. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Just kill me. Put me out. I'm good. I can die a happy man now.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible that they did. I've honestly never heard of the Red Sox doing that for anybody else.
Yeah, well, man, maybe I'm special. I don't know, but they took care of us, and they did it in a very classy way.
That's really cool. And like you mentioned earlier, you came up to a roster that was essentially a World Series roster back in 2007. And I was curious, during your debut and your time up in the majors, was there anybody who kind of took you under their wing?
There's kind of a couple. I'd say there's one experience where Coco Crisp was up at that point. He was one of the outfielders at the time, and when we finally got back to Fenway, and actually my brother was in town, and he took me around to see the whole clubhouse. Like, this is where you do this. This is where you get food. This is where you ask for this, and kind of just took 20 minutes of his time and showed me every little nook and cranny of the Red Sox clubhouse and all the access that we had. And for those that are listening, I mean, the Red Sox clubhouse there's a lot of nooks and crannies in that thing. It's not just one square. There's little whole corridors, and there's little weird hallways, and there's little corners and weird rooms. But yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do that. I really appreciated him for doing that. And I think it's funny. I think maybe 2 weeks before, he had charged the mound, somebody throwing at him. So he had kind of like this bad boy label on him at the moment. But all in all, I mean, he's a super good dude. And, it was really neat to have him take me around and show me. And I have to mention Sean Casey, too. So when I got my first big league hit, like the one guy, actually, when I got to spring training that year, Sean Casey, like, gave me a big hug, like, "Hey man, so nice to meet you." And I'm thinking, like, what? That's this awesome. Guy just like a kick me sign on my back. Like, why is he being so nice? And what's the joke? I know the joke's on me, but no, he was just genuinely a good guy. And when I got my first big league hit, I mean, he's on the top step, like jumping up and down like a cheerleader. I still, to this day, I mean, I have a big shadow box. It's got jersey, it's got the lineup card, the ball for my first hit, and I got a bat that Sean Casey gave me. Says, "Glad I was there to see your first big league knock." And so
that's amazing.
I'll never forget.
That's really cool. And, I see him a lot on MLB Network these days, and his energy and personality just beams through the TV screen. So it also must have been pretty cool to be able to get close with some of those guys as well. But I'll never forget that Coco Crisp charging the mound when James Shields hit him. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, Shields probably deserved it. Yeah. There's a bit of a rivalry there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I hope you guys are enjoying the Jonathan Van Every interview, but I want to take a second to talk to you guys about Built Bar. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar, Built Bar. It's filled with so much holiday goodness, rich flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. And you can get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. There's also so many flavors that you can choose from. You'll have a hard time choosing. You can get raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, or even peanut butter brownie. Wow, that sounds really good. Built Bar also gives you extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or you're just going to be standing in endless lines with a Built Bar that can give you extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or purse, and you'll never know when you're going to need it. And here's a little holiday secret. Dip your Built Bar into a piping hot cocoa and let it melt. It sounds really good. And give your beverage a little bit of that Built Bar flavor. Plus, you'll have a nice, melty Built Bar to go with it. And be sure to have a couple of napkins on hand. And we have a special offer for you. You can go over to Built Bar and use the promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off on your order. And that's LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off on BuiltBar.com. So let's get back to the Jonathan Van Every interview. And as you mentioned, I mean, you played with guys like Euclid, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, and who looking back is some of your favorite teammates that you had the opportunity to play with on the Red Sox?
Man, there's so many. I'd say the two guys I already mentioned. I mean, all the guys are great, man. I mean, Pedroia, Ellsbury, Euclid, I mean, Ortiz. He could never remember my name, bless his heart, but he's still a great teammate. I mean, Manny was kind of off to himself for the most part. Manny being Manny, that's kind of a good term. Mike Tomlin, great guy. I mean, it was a really good core group of guys there, and Jason Varitek. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I was just surrounded by so much history and Boston lore that I was kind of mesmerized, just like a fan at that point. and just see these guys and being able to play on their level and hang out with them, and it was just it was incredible. I remember I was dating a girl from Boston at the time. I actually met her right after I got called up at a bar in Boston, and she comes. I get her tickets to a game, and so now she's sitting in the family section. Mm-hmm. So now she's like next to all the wives and stuff, and hearing all the gossip of the players. And I still remember the first time I see her. So we're coming out of the clubhouse, and there's this little small parking garage per se. And so out of the clubhouse walks like Ortiz, and Ramirez, and Euclid, and Lester, and Pedroia, and all the studs. And I can just see her back there as I walk out. Her eyes are already just like popped wide open. It's like, is this really happening? Like, oh my God, this is crazy. Right. I mean, she got to ride on the team playing that year. I mean, she was like whining and dining, and I'm sure she'll never forget all that stuff. But it was crazy to, just be a part of that and see like how much people in that city love the team and just that area for the matter, and how much following they have. It's incredible.
Yeah, 100%. I always say and warn my friends when I'm watching the Red Sox with them, just so you know, like if something doesn't go right, I might scream out of nowhere, like at the TV, but it's just because like I feel like I'm a part of the team.
Yeah, for sure.
But as you can see, I got a Pedroia picture right here. He was a guy who inspired me all throughout playing, and I was always told that I was too small, and I always looked up as Pedroia as being that 5'10" second baseman, making those scrappy plays, but always finding a way to get on base.
He's probably closer to 5'6" than 5'10", but he's a hell of a player. Granted, I mean the statistics don't lie.
Oh yeah, 100%, definitely not. And you actually had the opportunity to be in the same outfield with Manny Ramirez when he had that play in New York, and he high-fived the Red Sox fan and threw the ball back in. Were you pretty confused when you saw him do that?
Small correction, it was Baltimore.
Oh, it was Baltimore.
But yes. So that was the day I got called up. And
oh wow.
And so Kevin Millar hits a long ball over his head. And he's getting heckled the whole game from guys right behind him. And I'm like, what? I mean, I thought he actually went after somebody because, man, he's kind of cuckoo a little bit. All the greats, whether it's baseball, football, or musician, or, a writer, they're all kind of cuckoo in the head. That's what makes them great. Right. That's what makes them special. And I thought he actually went after somebody in the stands. But actually, when I watched the replay, he was high-fiving the one Red Sox guy surrounded by 17 Oriole fans. So I saw that happen. I saw him throw it in. We got a double play. I'm like, I need to go get myself on TV for a moment. So I sprinted over to left field, gave him a little high five with the glove, and then ran into the dugout. So it's funny you say that. I still have that photo. Somebody took a photo of us clicking gloves right after he made that play, and I have that framed in a shadow box next to my jersey and stuff. So that was a cool moment to be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like you said, Manny being Manny.
Yep, that's it.
And you also had the opportunity to pitch 2 separate times, once against the Rays and once against the Yankees. I'm curious, what was sort of your reaction when Tito was like, Van Every, you're going on the mound?
Well, I think the first time I kind of bribed him into it. Not really bribed him, but I'm a team guy. Anything for the team. If it makes me go and make a fool out of myself on the mound, then if that's better for the team, then by all means, I will do that. I am a team guy, and I think over the course of my life, that's probably hurt me just as much as it's helped me. But that being said, I was like, throw me on the mound. I can throw a strike. I can make them get themselves out eventually. So that's what happened with the first time in Tampa. It's funny because Javi Lopez was actually on the mound. I was in right, and we just did a switch. So I went to the mound. Javi goes to right. There was already a guy on first, I believe. Yes, there's a guy on first base. So that's Javi's run. All right. And the next guy swings at the first pitch, hits a line drive to the right center field gap. So Javi's trying to chase down his own run in the gap. So if the ball gets by him, his run's going to score and make his ERA go up. If he catches it, he'll obviously save his ERA some numbers, but he took a horrible route to the ball, just like a typical pitcher would.
Yeah.
And his run ended up scoring, but I ended up getting out of the jam. I broke a bat and I got another out, so we got out of it. But the damage had already been done. And then the second time around, I think it was a Saturday day game on Fox. We were getting beat like 14-2. We were getting our brains beat out by the Yankees, and they told me I had the ninth, and they knew I could throw strikes. So I get up there, I get in the bullpen, and I asked guys down there, like, who's coming out? They're like, Jeter, Teixeira, A-Rod. I'm like, oh, my God. Kidding me? Like, our starters can't get these guys out, and you expect me to? So, but, Jeter swung the first pitch, hit a double off the wall. And then I think Teixeira hit a ball that still hadn't landed yet. And they pinch hit for A-Rod. I got that guy to fly out on the first pitch. Struck out Brett Gardner, and then I got Robinson Cano, who was next in line, who actually won the MVP that year. Got him to ground out, and I covered first like a typical pitcher. So we got out of it. We survived, saved some arms, and at that point you just live to fight another day.
And how intimidating was it for you to face guys like Jeter and A-Rod? Because, I mean, like you said, you got drafted in 2000. I mean, that's the same time when they were winning 4 World Series in a row, and or at least Jeter was. But so were you a little bit nervous going up there and facing those guys?
I don't think so. I mean, at that point, you're getting the job done takes over of any nerves. So I knew I had a job to do. It was throw the ball over the plate. If they hit it a mile, they hit it a mile. Eventually, statistics show that guys will get themselves out. So 75% of all balls put in fair play or outs. I mean, you have to, just let the guys get themselves out at that point. The thing that sucks, though, is the Yankees won the World Series that year. Mm-hmm. So leading up to the World Series, and Teixeira hit 3 home runs that game. So leading up to the World Series, they keep replaying that last home run off of me going into the playoffs that year. So I had to see myself on TV giving up the Teixeira bomb over the lights, over the monster, like 30 times leading into the playoffs that year.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, you were probably like, whatever. I'm not even a pitcher anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thumbing it up there, 75 over the middle, like BP. If you can hit it, pal. That's kind of the mentality you have to take.
That's funny. I hope you guys have been enjoying my conversation thus far with former Red Sox player Jonathan Van Every. But I want to take a second to talk to you real quick about BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all sports action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And you also had the opportunity to play a little bit with current Red Sox manager Alex Cora as well. And, we hear all the time these days how smart of a baseball player he is. And I was curious sort of what your experience was like, playing next to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I mean, he's all about trying to make everybody around him better. I mean, he's very knowledgeable. I think he was playing short the day I got called up, but super great dude. Very studious of the game, as you mentioned. And I mean, to be honest, couldn't be a better guy. I mean, I know he kind of, from what I understand, granted, I haven't read all the history on this, but got caught up in the whole Houston thing. But anybody that's competitive is going to try and find an edge over anybody else. And I'm not saying he's guilty or he's innocent, but if I was in those shoes, I mean, I'd probably try and find a competitive edge over anybody else as well. So props to him. I mean, he's done really well, obviously, and I think he will continue to do well in anything that he touches.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, he said throughout like this past season, he's like, all I can do is I'm going to have to apologize for the rest of my life. But he's like, I feel awful for it. But
yeah, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you're trying to win. Your job is to win, and
right.
Anybody that tells you winning is not important at that level is they're full of hogwash, because everything's based on wins,
Right.
with the exception of there might be 3 or 4 organizations that really don't care about winning.
Right.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, exactly. And like the tanking teams, aka the Orioles. But I want to ask you a little bit about a weird thing that happened where you were released from the Red Sox and then got signed by the Pirates, then traded back to the Red Sox, and then traded back to the Pirates. What was that sort of situation like? I bet it must have been sort of a weird situation to be in the middle of.
It was a whirlwind for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's in 2009. I guess it was about halfway through the year, maybe a little earlier than halfway through the year. That's when I got outright released. I signed with Pittsburgh not long, maybe a month after. I think that kind of drug out a little bit, but maybe a month after. And again, I couldn't play, so I was just stuck rehabbing the rest of the year. So go to camp with them, and then break with the AAA team. And a month in, there was obviously severe injuries at Boston. So they made a trade for me and put me right back in the big leagues, which, I'm just like, golly, why didn't you guys try and really get me back, the year before? But I would love to stay in Boston. I think I'm more of a Boston fan than I am a Cubs fan now, just based on my experiences. But yeah, it was a whirlwind. One day I'm in AAA in Indianapolis, and then the next day I'm in the big leagues in Boston. And then a month later, I'm back. Speaking of, there's 2 people in the history of baseball that have actually been traded for themselves.
That's pretty
Can you
crazy.
name one of them?
I'm guessing
You're talking to one of them.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So in 2010, May something or another, I can't remember what day, I was traded for a player to be named later from Pittsburgh to Boston. A month later, I was the player to be named later to go back to Pittsburgh from Boston. So that's kind of a peculiar situation. So,
yeah, that must have been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hey, anything, again, I'm a team player, man. I'll help whatever team I'm on. If somebody wants me, I'll do my damnedest to figure out a way to contribute and keep pulling in the same direction and figure out a way to win some games.
And was there still guys back in Indianapolis, like when you went back to the Pirates, you were like, oh, good to see you back here? How was that?
Yeah, pretty much the whole team, because they didn't go anywhere. They were all still stuck there.
That's
yeah,
funny.
I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy experience to be a part of. Exactly. I mean, it was nuts.
I bet. And I really appreciate you taking the time tonight, Jonathan. I was definitely a big fan of yours. When you played, I was like 9 or 10, and it was funny when I thought about like guests and like that sort of stuff, and saw you on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, he'd be perfect, because I remember you playing, and I actually remember that home run, that game winner.
It means a lot, man. I appreciate it. I got a big fan out there, so that means a lot. It truly does. I appreciate that. Thank you.
100%, man. And yeah, like I said, really appreciate you taking the time. And lastly, is there anything for the Red Sox fans listening? As you said, you loved playing in Boston. Is there anything that you'd want to say to them?
I mean, not really. I mean, hell, you guys are spoiled rotten with the Red Sox, with the Patriots, with the Celtics. I mean, let somebody else win a championship for a change, No, it's a great sports town, man. I can't say enough good things about Boston. I walk to the field every day. I lived in the South End. I mean, it was truly an incredible experience that I will never forget. And the last thing I'll say is, I'm never one to play like the player's card, because every player in the big leagues has a player's card to get into the stadium and get through security. Mm-hmm. And supposedly it gets you in a bunch of nice bars in Boston. Well, there was this one fancy joint that opened up that I had no idea what it was, but my girlfriend at the time wanted to go. So we go. It's raining. It's pouring down rain. There's a line out this place, probably 400 people deep, wrapped around two
God.
corners. And I stroll all the way to the front. I'm like, hey, man, can you let us in? It was me and 7 of her friends. He sees the player's card. He's like, come meet the owner. Like, oh, right, this thing actually worked. So, but that just shows you how much people love the Red Sox in that town. I mean, it's incredible. And most cities, or I guess most players for that matter, would love to have that kind of support. So I can just say thank you for supporting the team. And I know they appreciate it. Even if they don't say it publicly in the media, I mean, they love having the whole city behind you.
Right, that's hilarious. I've never actually heard of that. That you must have looked back at your girlfriend and said, "Yep, see, I got special treatment."
Yeah, one time.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah, I'm 23 years old, so I always tell people couldn't have grown up in a better city, a better time period. I always feel bad for those. Places like Cleveland or even, Chicago for as long as they didn't win a championship. And I always try and, be as humble as possible. But, when I have to bring up my New England, I got to say, you hate us because you ain't us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very correct. I mean, you guys keep winning, man. There's no harm in that. It's just everybody else hates you.
Exactly. I love it, man. Well, really appreciate taking the time, Jonathan. And I hope you and your family have a very safe and fun holidays.
All right. Merry Christmas to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to Locked On Red Sox. I hope you guys did enjoy my conversation with former Red Sox player Jonathan Van Every. And I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. And now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Also, make sure you go over and follow Locked On Red Sox on Twitter. It's LO_Red Sox. So you get updated for daily episodes. And we're also going to be asking some interesting open-ended questions, and your answers could be featured on the podcast. So also make sure you follow myself on Twitter. It's @JakeIckey, as well as my co-host, NESN writer Lauren Campbell. That's 4 laws, and Lauren, and that's 4 R's in the Lauren. So make sure you go over and follow her as well. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And also make sure you check out tomorrow's episode, because Lauren and I have the opportunity to interview Red Sox prospect Zach Kelly. So buckle up. We have tons of exciting player interviews for you before Christmas and throughout the rest of the year. So even though the lockout is still going on, Lauren and I still have tons to talk about and people to talk to as well. So make sure you subscribe, not only on YouTube, but whatever audio platform you use. Thanks so much for listening today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you and talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.